Have you ever wanted to know more about history, but don't have time for the long version? This book brings you a short account of the Lincoln assassination. In less than 60 minutes, you will meet the key players, learn the pertinent facts of Booth's plot, and discover the fate of the individual conspirators. If you've ever wanted to learn more about the Lincoln assassination, you can do it now, in under an hour, with this Kindle Short. At just over 5,000 words and 36 pages, it will whet your appetite to read more. March 3, 1865. Abraham Lincoln was on horseback, riding towards Petersburg, Virginia, accompanied by his bodyguard, William Crook. They were on their way to meet General Ulysses S. Grant, who had just captured Petersburg. Crook described the grisly scene as they crossed the battlefield. "I can still see one man with a bullet hole through his forehead, and another with both arms shot away." Everywhere around them were strewn dead bodies and the carnage of war. The next day, March 4th, Lincoln and Crook started towards Richmond, Virginia, with Admiral Porter. Richmond had just fallen, and Porter thought the president should survey the city. Porter felt Lincoln's appearance there so soon after the fall would help show the South the government's confidence in her people. Crook described Richmond as black with Negroes. Together with Lincoln and his youngest son Tad, they moved through the streets of Richmond with the Negroes watching in awe. Many of them came up to shake Lincoln's hand. People stared and watched their every move from behind the safety of their windows. Crook imagined guns being poked through the windows at every turn, pointed at the president. Lincoln's premonitions of his assassination. Not long after that, on March 14th, Lincoln told his bodyguard, "Crook, do you know, I believe there are men who want to take my life." Then after a pause he said, half to himself, "And I have no doubt they will do it." At the time, Crook and Lincoln were walking past a crowd of drunken rowdies on their way to the War Department to meet with Secretary Stanton. Lincoln's biographer and boyhood friend, Ward Layman Hill, relates a similar story Lincoln told him. "About 10 days ago," said he, "I retired very late. I had been up waiting for important dispatches from the front. I could not have been long in bed when I fell into a slumber, for I was weary. I soon began to dream. There seemed to be a death-like stillness about me. Then I heard subdued sobs, as if a number of people were weeping. I thought I left my bed and wandered downstairs. There the silence was broken by the same pitiful sobbing, but the mourners were invisible. I went from room to room. No living person was in sight, but the same mournful sounds of distress met me as I passed along. I saw light in all the rooms. Every object was familiar to me, but where were all the people who were grieving as if their hearts would break? I was puzzled and alarmed. What could be the meaning of all this? Determined to find the cause of a state of things so mysterious and so shocking, I kept on until I arrived at the East Room, which I entered. There I met with a sickening surprise. Before me was a catafalque, on which rested a corpse wrapped in funeral vestments. Around it were stationed soldiers who were acting as guards, and there was a throng of people gazing mournfully upon the corpse, whose face was covered, others weeping pitifully. "Who is dead in the White House?" I demanded of one of the soldiers. "The President," was his answer. "He was killed by an assassin." Then came a loud burst of grief from the crowd, which woke me from my dream. I slept no more that night, and although it was only a dream, I've been strangely annoyed by it ever since. "That is horrid," said Mrs. Lincoln, who was also present. "It is only a dream," responded Mr. Lincoln thoughtfully. "It is only a dream, Mary. Let us say no more about it, and try to forget it."
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.